So apparently, this lady is living on just $1 a day, and she reveals her jaw-dropping hacks. So $1 can buy a lot if you're as savvy as this budgeting whiz. A British woman has gone viral on TikTok after revealing how she survives by spending just over $1 a day. Manchester native Catherine Leach wanted to see how hard it would be to live on a food budget of €1 or just $1.13 a day, and decided to document her week on the popular social media app, which I'm guessing like TikTok, yep. With the current cost of living crisis and the constant rising inflation, a lot of people are having to cut back just to get by, Leach told Need to Know Online. For a lot of people, it doesn't matter how much they budget. The real issue is that the average cost of living is consistently rising, but salaries aren't at the same rate. So here's the thing, right? And I mention this pretty often. Like the average cost of of the typical items that you would normally buy have risen by a stupid amount, right? So a personal example, a certain type of dog food that I buy over a year ago now, well basically like a year ago, was like about like 10.68 per package. Now it is nearly almost 20 bucks. And that's just dog food. That is literally no other item, just dog food. That I'm using as an example. But every other item has also increased. Maybe not to that extent, but has also increased. So it is very difficult nowadays to keep your living costs down, right? To keep your food bill down, right? But there are ways to do it. Now we're obviously going to go through her like hacks of doing this, right? But if I was struggling with money, which by the way, if you want to learn how to get out of debt and learn how I got out of debt and grew my net worth, go down below or go to 40inbox.com. But what I would do if I needed to survive on very little amount of money would be to go down two routes. Either go down a like peanut butter and jelly sandwich type of route or a ramen route, right? Because both of those things can be bought in bulk for extremely cheap. You can still buy like a pack of like 12 ramen packs for $2 and something cents. You could still buy really cheap bread for about two something dollars, like a little bit higher than $2. Now, the bread's not going to be great, but you can still get it for kind of that cheap. Peanut butter, on the other hand, is a little bit more expensive now. But if you buy it in bulk or like the bigger size container, you could get it for a little bit cheaper. And also, peanut butter is super calorie dense, so you could get basically your caloric intake every single day for very cheap. Plus, with the ramen, a lot of calorie dense right there in terms of like there's a lot of calories in ramen. But you could also add, different things in it if you really want to. But I'm just talking about like survivability. Like if you're someone who's struggling with like your food budget, your grocery budget, those are routes that you could potentially take. So Li Chu's entire profile is dedicated to budgeting hacks, found her challenge an eye-opening experience. So this is quite an extreme food budgeting challenge, but it was interesting for me to see if it's possible to live on a budget this small, which some people might actually have to do, explained the 26-year-old. The thrifty woman said she shopped mostly at Aldi for ingredients for her simple meals. I ate the same thing every day for the whole 7 days, she said. I had toast, kidney beans, and pepper wraps, and tuna and sweet corn pasta. Interesting. So lunch wraps, beans, peppers. Okay. Breakfast toast with butter. Interesting. So she actually spent basically under the $7. So her video detailing her extreme hacks has received nearly 685,800 views as of Thursday. And the reason why we're not playing the video is because there's like copyright stuff on that. So the hardest part was eating the same food every day. It wasn't filling, recalled Leach. It also wasn't healthy as there's no way I could get enough nutrients in, and I definitely didn't eat enough calories. Interesting. However, I made the food in bulk so to cut down on cooking time as I only had to cook a couple of times for the whole week and I just warmed it up each day. And many TikTok users immediately weighed in on the experiment. Couldn't eat that 3 times a day for a week, no meat either, no proper sustenance, vitamins, protein, said one user. Very helpful, well done. Sometimes you need a cheap week to get you through, says someone else. Some users argue that no one should ever have to live like that. The point is, you shouldn't have to, quipped one user. No honest person should be taken to such point to fight to survive on €7 or $7, another remarked. In several follow-up videos, Leach repeats the challenge at several other supermarkets with videos ranging from 5,000 views to 93,000 views. Well, here's the thing. Hopefully she ends up growing her social presence and doing something worthwhile with it and all that kind of stuff. That'd be kind of cool to see. But the main thing to really understand too, which we're going to go in the comments, but the main thing to really understand about this, right, is that the main reason why you would want to do something like this, if you had the choice, would be to cut down your costs so that you could utilize the money for some sort of purpose. So, for example, if you were wanting to like get out of debt very fast, which by the way, if you want to learn how to do that, go down below. But if you want to do it very fast, you could take a drastic measure like this and you would be able to save so much money and toss that excess cash per month straight into paying off your bills. And this could be pretty serious money going to paying your bills because a lot of people don't actually realize how much money they are spending on the category food in general. Like going out, getting Starbucks, getting energy drinks, which that's my one vice in life is energy drinks. But that ain't cheap, right? You could easily start racking up a lot of money by buying that. Like a lot of people really need to understand that doing something like this could literally save people hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per month in food cost. Like it's crazy. But you definitely shouldn't do something like this long term. Like you really shouldn't. Or at the very least, if you do, at least take like a multivitamin or something. Try to like replace some of the holes that you're not filling up. Huh. Where do you even get tuna that cheap? Or mayo unless you steal a couple of small packets from a deli. I can make a pot of something that lasts nearly 2 weeks, costs less per serving, and is actually edible. The thing is, if you were to get tuna in like not in can, but in pouches, depending on the size and if it's on basically like a clearance thing because they didn't like sell correctly or fast enough, you could end up getting some tuna for about like 89 cents, 90 cents per pack. That dinner pasta probably tastes okay, but it looks absolutely horrific. Ha ha ha, she sure ain't skipping on the cost of her makeup or cell phone. I can pretty much guarantee if there is a grown up being forced to eat on $1 per day budget, then they have absolutely made horrible choices in life and are where they are for a reason. No sympathy from me, and the world would be a much better place if there was no sympathy from anyone for these types of people. We need to let Darwin work. Now, here's the thing, you got to keep in mind that she's doing this for a challenge. And also, if you're forced to do something like this, I would have to agree somewhat that you have made some choices that put you in a situation where this is now a viable option for you. Like the only way that I view this as like basically okay for people to do is one if they just want to do it, like for like personal reasons they just feel like doing it, and two if they are doing it because they are trying to utilize the money that they save in a very specific way. Let's see. Most Americans would benefit from skipping meals on a regular basis. Gluttony and sloth are sins. Let's see. Gross, my dog eats better. Funny enough, my dogs do eat better than that. Sounds great if you want to have zero quality of life. I would have to agree. My cat eats better than her. Top ramens would be better for her. Make a spread. One chicken breast alone is $4 here in US. That seems a bit too overpriced. I don't think one singular chicken breast is $4. That's overpriced. Canned, processed, high carb trash, and the food is terrible also. Again, this is like another thing too, right? You really don't want to be eating really cheap food like this because the quality of the food is going to be so heavily processed that it's not going to be good for you. I lived on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and an occasional can of tuna for over a month. Once, uh, once when I was trying to get my first job as a pilot, I lived in my car near a lake where I cleaned up every day. I did get the job and then lived a few more weeks that way until my first check. If you are motivated and not lazy, you can do a lot of things. Like so here's the thing, like this is like a perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? Living this way for a short amount of time for a specific reason, for a specific goal makes perfect sense, right? Like if you are trying to like save up for a trip that you want to go out and you don't want to go into debt for it and you don't want to dip into like your emergency fund, right? And your money is tied up in investments, perfect way to save up for it very quickly, right? If you want to go to a club or something, or if you want to save up for like maybe a new like car or motorcycle or whatever it is, purse, whatever it is that you're interested in, doing something like this for a very short amount of time can work wonders, right? Because the faster you get the money that you need, the sooner that you can stop doing it. You can live on a lot less than that. You might not live long. You could just eat rice. And yeah, and here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand too. You could get a lot of rice for extremely cheap. Tuna is protein, red meat is terrible for you and should be eaten sparingly. There's a lot of debate about whether or not red meat is actually terrible for you or not. Also, a lot of people's genetics will determine whether or not it's bad for you. So, to be fair, eat food, and if you feel like crap after you eat it, stop eating that food, right? So, for example, personally, I love eating ramen. I literally love eating ramen. But I feel like a worthless pile of crap after I eat it. So I can't eat it. I get super bloated, I feel sick, after I eat it, and I eat so much of it when I do eat it. So, that is something that I just cannot touch, even though I love it. I just cannot touch it because it is bad for me. So that's the way that you got to go about it, right? So if you do go down like this super cheap route, eat some sort of food. If it doesn't go well with you, change the food into something else. Let's see. Right? Who eats eggs? Just disgusting. I only eat air because I'm concerned for the climate. Interesting. And the thing is, you could still get a lot of eggs for really cheap, which is probably one of the best protein sources that you could probably get. So, yeah, I thought this was an interesting article because it shows that if you wanted to be pretty severe in your saving money sort of lifestyle or turn this into like a little side thing that you do to just try to save up a lot of money, you could do it. It's going to be hard for you. You probably won't be able to stick with it for a long time, but with the short amount of time that you do dedicate to this, you can make a world of change for your life, right? Doing something like this for like 1 week to like a month could probably dramatically change your course of trajectory in your life. And so, what I mean by that, let's say that you're living paycheck to paycheck right now, right? Doing this little thing for like a week could literally just give you that quick buffer, that tiny little buffer that you need to breathe a fresh, like in fresh air, right? To breathe a little bit. Be like, oh wow, I'm no longer drowning in bills right now because I have this excess cash to pay my bills and enjoy some sort of life, right? Because if you are grinding 9 to 5, well, not 9 to 5, but like basically grinding all day and all night and still basically living paycheck to paycheck, and you have nothing showing for it afterwards, that is going to like mess you up mentally. But if you did this for like a week, right? Just a week, you would have excess cash in your bank account, like a small amount of cash in your bank account, and you're like, oh wow, like I'm no longer in the hole. I actually have something that I earned that I can keep in my bank account. Like it will have a dramatic effect on how you view yourself in your life. Because if you're constantly living paycheck to paycheck and you have no money, it doesn't matter what you're doing day to day, you're going to hate your life, right? But if you just get that tiny little buffer, you're like, was able to save up some money for myself, right? That's going to make me feel good about myself, which means that it's going to give me a lot more hope and also potentially drive me into doing something better for my life than living paycheck to paycheck. Be more willing to take chances to try to get myself out of that situation. That's the way that you would have to view it, right? But again, only do something like this for like a short amount of time because it's just not healthy. Like it just really is not healthy. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and learn how I got out of debt and grew my net worth, learn below.